Greg.
Turn it over to Mr. Bowl and the Greek, and here we go.
Thank you, Fig. Now, Fig was really promoting those T-shirts and those cups and everything else, but he thought he was going to get a commission. Sorry, Fig. So, good morning, everybody. I am Bob the Greek Bolin. My good friend Mike Mickey Rat Esther and I, along with everyone associated with the ISBHOF, would like to welcome you to the 18th annual induction. This is, it's been quite a thing, and oh my gosh, we have stuff now, don't we?
I don't want stuff.
We have stuff. This is just our second year holding it here in Huntington Beach, and as you can see, we've added a new event here on 5th Street, the first annual 5th Street Surforama. And that's going to be a wonderful event for downtown Huntington Beach, and all the merchants on 5th Street loves it. They think that the BID, the Business Improvement District, is finally remembered that we have a 5th Street, which is great. So, right now I'd like to make a shout out to Mike Esther, Don Ramsey, Bruce Gabrielson, and all the others that helped put this thing together. They washed the board, they trimmed the trees, they swept the parking lot, and they just did a marvelous job of making this venue very, very nice. And it's quite a change from our very first induction, wasn't it, Rat?
Oh, yeah. I wanted to keep it simple, stupid.
But he just looked at me, he just calls me stupid. We're going to do this, we're going to do this. And how do you like our new backdrop? Kind of cool, huh? So this is designed to fit the 10. It's 10 by 7 or something like that. And I thought, oh, this is great until we put it on the wall. It looks like a postage stamp. So next year we'll have a 16 by 8 up there, so it'll be a little better. My son Michael chastised me for that, right, Mike? The media wall needs to be bigger. Okay, we're going to do that. So anyway, I have to have a commercial event right here, so we're going to take a commercial break. You got to go to the bathroom, now's the time. We've been holding this thing for 18 years. We have no budget. Rat, do we have a budget? We have no budget. So if you haven't purchased your 2017 collector t-shirt yet, they're right over here waiting for you to spend some money. It's a healthy event for next year. We just cover costs. We don't make any money. And by the way, we have posters, commemorative coffee cups, stickers for sale, and this is our only fundraiser. Otherwise it's out of our pockets.
And any of the other proceeds goes directly to the museum.
Yep.
And if you can find it in your surfing hearts, get a couple bucks out and donate it to the museum. They really need it.
So we'll also be raffling off a number of items, including a surfboard from 17th Street Surf Shop and a custom Greek shorty.
Right.
We're supposed to get a big rise out of that one, right?
Yeah.
Where's that crowd?
You'll be able to go to the shaping room with him, watch him shape.
That's right.
You can design the colors and whatever else.
That's right. So all proceeds from the raffle and the 5th Street Surforama will be for the benefit of the Huntington Beach International Surfing Museum, so make sure to purchase plenty of raffle tickets. The raffle will be held during the after party over at Legends, right across the street from the museum, which will begin about 2 o'clock this afternoon, and they're going to be pulling raffle tickets all the way up until about 5 o'clock. I think the last one is going to be for the Greek surfboard. You don't have to be there to win it as long as you put your name on the ticket.
You don't have to be present, and it's no cost. Just show up and have fun.
That's right. So now, we're going to be privileged to have our Hawaiian blessing on the event from our own Alakai under David Nueva Sr. and Kamana O Pono Egris. Ladies and gentlemen, Brother Kalani Akui. Mahalo.
Wow.
Hello. Well, at this point, I'm going to introduce Mike Mickey Rat Esther, and he's going to give us a brief history of what this event's all about and how it started.
Early spring of 2000, Greek and I were on a little surfing excursion down to Churches, and when we got done surfing, we found out on our way home, we found out that one of the surfboard building legends had passed away. So I look over at Greek and I said, you know what, somebody needs to do something to preserve the history of surfboard building and need to document these guys' lifetime achievements. And he looked over and he goes, okay, let's do it. And I said, do what? And he goes, let's start it. Let's start what? So we picked the first inductee, who was Bill Holden, and Bill started building surfboards right here in Huntington Beach in what,
What year, Brad?
What year, Brad?
55. Yep.
55?
Yep.
He had a board shop on Beach Boulevard? Was it?
I think it was behind his mom's house, yeah?
Yeah?
Yep.
Uh-huh. Well, we had, loved Bill. Greatest smile. You could never talk to Bill without him smiling. Looks just like his son, or his son looks just like him. And we actually have, well, the story was, Greek and I got invited to a birthday party at Bill's house. He lived in Laguna Canyon, and so we only had a couple weeks to come up with something. So I put my one little brain cell together and came up with an idea for an award. When we showed up at the party, he had a raised back porch like this, and there was probably a good 200 people at that birthday party. So we called him and his wife up onto the porch, and we told him why we were there. He was totally shocked. We hand him the award, and then his wife starts crying, and then Bill gets emotional. I look over at Greek, and I'm like, did we do something wrong here? He goes, no, I think we did something good. He said that nobody has ever recognized him for mowing foam for 40 plus years. So it was very special. So when we got done, I looked at Greek, and he looked at me, and he goes, I think we started something. So I'd like to bring Brad Holden up with the very first award. Thanks for bringing that, Brad.
All right.
It's pretty archaic. I only had a week or so to throw it together, so there you go, show it off. So unfortunately, Bill has left us. He passed away in 2008? 2008. 2008. That Brad is here in his honor.
And the interesting thing is, you see how Brad's holding this award. Well, that's pretty much the way Bill held it in his backyard, but he wouldn't let anybody else hold it. All he did was turn it so they could look at it, and then he kept it real close to his body. He wouldn't let it go. And Bill was a very good friend of mine. My very first custom board was a Bill Holden surfboard. I pulled into that garage, and they had one, and it was a red tint. And if anybody's ever done red tints early with pigment, they know that that red tended to run a little bit. It'd run on the rail, so I had a discount, all the way down to 85 bucks. So that was a neat story. So Bill and I go a ways back, and it was fun to induct him first. Thank you, Brad.
Thank you. So after that, we had to come up. We came up with the name just before the event, the International Surfboard Builders Hall of Fame, and then we had to come up with a logo. Greek and I were over in Honolulu for the Duke Fest. We went into the 99-cent store and found a postcard with somewhat that logo on it. And so that's where it started at, and then it just grew from there.
It grew from there, but we had one of our board members, Kauhi Ho'okano, was here somewhere. Where are you, Kauhi? Hey, Walden, you made it. Okay, good. Kauhi Ho'okano? Anyway, he helped with the graphics on this thing and got it all done.
Morning Sun T-shirts.
Yep. And so he's one of our board members, and I know he's floating around here somewhere. I don't know where he went and got off to, but.
And so the way we did this.
Oh, there he is over here. Kauhi, come on over here for a minute.
And the way we did this is we wanted to take the politics out of it. Although Greek and I picked the first inductee, what we did is we then said we want the inductees then to pick the next inductee. So Bill Holden picked Velzy, and then between Bill and Velzy, they picked the next two, and then those four picked the next four.
They picked Gordy and Hap Jacobs.
Yep, they did. And so that's the way it goes every year. And then a couple years later, we did a international pick. And
Barry
then
Bennett.
a couple years later, we did an East Coast pick, and then we also did a past passed away in legend, so we got 7 of them every year now.
Posthumous, yeah. So, anyway, yeah, that's the history. It's been a great run. We've had a lot of fun doing it, and we sure appreciate everybody coming out. Thank you, Coffee. Go sit with the boys. Can we get a seat? Can we get another seat for Coffee? Yeah, go ahead. So we have a number of past inductees here today. I'd like to introduce them. Steve Walden, stand up. Steve started his surfboard career right here in Huntington Beach, and he's really built it up. He's built a really great name. The Steve Walden Surfboard Company has really come a long, long way since he worked for the Greek.
And Steve and I go way back. We went to high school together.
Right. I like to say I taught him all that he knows, but that's not true. Anyway, Steve, thanks for coming. Tom Morey, the famous Tom Morey, right here. And if you've ever ridden a Morey boogie board, let me tell you, the guy's a genius. He comes up with, he's a phenomenal engineer, and he's just an all-around great guy. And then to his right is Jeff Ho. Now, and he's from Zephyr Surfboards, but also Dogtown, right, Jeff? Yeah, exactly. And when he was inducted, I'm sitting there going, okay, Jeff Ho, who is this guy? He had this many people here just for him.
Not as many as Robert had last year.
Yeah. So, anyway, Jeff, it's good to have you back again. We just love having you come. Jim the Genius Phillips. I can see you from right there. Stand up. Been building surfboards a long time down in the San Diego area. Phenomenal craftsman. And what can I say? He comes pretty much every year and supports the event. And it's always good to have these guys come back because they're just supporting the rest of the shapers that are getting inducted. Thank you. Steve Bainey. Infinity Surfboards. Right here, started Huntington Beach, and he just grew that name like crazy. His son is a phenomenal stand-up paddler. And he was him and his wife were a great tandem team, and Steve's done a wonderful job with the Infinity label. Right here out of Huntington Beach. Let's see, who else? Oh, who's that guy over there in the white hat? Floyd Smith. Come on, Floyd, stand up.
He's the guy that built the condo out here in the street.
Anyway, Floyd Smith, of course, famous Gordon Smith Surfboards out of San Diego area. A phenomenal name, and they did a wonderful, wonderful job. Uh-oh. I got Greg Lohr over there, too. He was inducted last year. And he's another one, Greg Lohr. He had a tremendous following. I was just really pleased to have Greg inducted. He's here to accept for Pat O'Hare, who couldn't make it. And I got Robert Surfboards. Robert Milner.
And if you were here last year, I think Robert had what, 75?
I think so, yeah.
With him.
We said, come up here and take a group shot.
Wasn't big
There was
enough.
nobody left out there. It was something else. Phenomenal surfboard builder, built a great name up in the South Bay area, I do believe, right?
In fact, here's his board right here.
Yep, he brought one down and we've got it up on the stage, so that's good. Let's see, who else do we got over here? This is a guy over there named Rich. Oh, you're already standing. Okay, well he did this wonderful gun sitting over here. And he's up, you moved just up into Ventura now? Santa Barbara area, okay. Yeah, Ventura too. He's a great board builder from up in that area. And we just love having him come back. He was inducted last year. And he builds a great board, and it was a wonderful time having him here. So, did I miss any of our past inductees that may not have their jackets on or something? Okay, well that's that for that. So now, I've got board members, Kauhi Hokano. Did you get away? Hey, Kauhi's right here. I got Bruce Gabrielson. We got Ray Bond over here. And let's see, anybody else? Dick Metz and Dwight Dunn are unfortunately couldn't be with us today. Do we have anybody else?
I think we do. I think we've got some guy named Don Ramsey.
Well, Don Ramsey, is he around here? Oh my gosh, come on up here, Don.
Can you get his jacket out for me?
Are you sure?
Well, we did a coin flip. We ended up having to do.
And from the world famous Ramsey Brothers Band.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. That's a surprise.
So
thank you, Bob.
He's what we've done is we've made him one of our director of events. He did a wonderful job of putting this thing together and getting all these people on the street. I was getting all nervous, going, Don, how are you getting everybody? You getting any money? You getting any money? Come on, we gotta get these people up here. And Don pulled it off, and
Thank you so much.
and where's Dave Reynolds?
Yeah, Dave Reynolds.
Where's your partner in crime? Where's Dave?
Dave's out here somewhere. Where are you, Dave?
Dave Reynolds. Where are you?
No, he's here. He's coming around.
He's coming around the tents. He was hiding out in the back. But I'll tell you what, these two guys did a wonderful job of helping us get this. Took a big burden off of us, as this is way over our head. This is above my pay grade.
Woo! Right on, brother.
And you can tell he's OSHA approved.
Hey, Bob. Thank you for asking us to be part of your group. Little quick history. I've lived in Huntington Beach almost my whole life, and I got into surfing the year before I lived here. We lived in Manhattan Beach. In 1962, I learned about surfing. I was 10 years old, and I thought, I want to be a surfer. And I would buy Surfer magazine and cut pictures out of waves. And like Paul Straw, I saw him in pictures in Surfer magazine. I want to learn how to surf. And a few years later, I learned how to surf, and surfing's been my life. So to be able to be part of this, to me, it's a big deal, man. It's a big deal.
I want to thank everybody for coming out, and just having this jacket is a great honor, and I really dig working with the Greek and Mickey, and these three guys here. They're the real deal. They're my buddies.
Congratulations, boys.
These guys worked their butts off to make this happen. And it was a collaboration of all of our one brain cells to come up with the Fifth Street Surforama, but they were in charge of putting it all together, and they did a fantastic job.
Yes, they did. But they had to put up with me and my phone calls at 9 o'clock at night. How we doing? You getting any names? How we doing? Are we filling up the street? You getting the cars yet? Are they paying their bit? They getting in here? I drove them nuts. So, anyway, we have other notable board builders here with us. We have Randy Lewis, hometown. He learned under Gordy, isn't that right? He was a Gordyite right there. So, stand up, come on, I'm not done with you yet. And he went on to build his own label, Randy Lewis Surfboards. He's worked for the city for a long time. Wonderful, wonderful guy. And his dad did ding repair for a long time. We take our boards and get them done over there. And I got Don Monson. Don Monson has been around a long time. I think he went to school with Rat too, didn't he?
We went to grade school together. Yeah.
So anyway, Don, his I call him all the time. His logo, he's got a crown on it. So when I call him on the phone, what do I say? You are the king. Yes, indeed.
Why do you look so old, though?
That's why we bring him. They look older than me. And then we got Bruce Gabrielson. Bruce is another hometown guy right here. Shaped boards. Built his own label here in town, and he still shapes them once in a while. So, and he's also one of our board members he's our East Coast representative, and he does a great job on the East Coast. Jeff Doc Lausch. Where are you, Doc? Yeah, is he here? Oh, right there. Okay. Nice to have you here with us, Doc. He's got the prescription boards, right? And so if your surfing is ailing, oh my gosh, Carl Ekstrom showed up. Come on, Carl.
With
Let's
his
say
famous
hi.
hat.
He's one of our famous hat. He's one of our past inductees. famous, world famous surfboard builder, unbelievable craftsman. These guys do great. And I've got Rocky McKinnon. Rocky, come on over here. You belong in this show.
Come here,
over
Rocky.
You too. Carl, get over
Belong
here.
in this group.
Carl, hey Carl, get over here and stand in front of these guys. This is a photo op. Come on. They're going to want pictures of you before you go, you know. I'll introduce him when he comes up. So, did I miss anybody? Because I don't like to miss anybody. Oh yeah, Tommy Ballister. Tom, stand up.
Yeah, Tommy.
One of our other local surfboard builders. I was trying to call him. I saw you driving down the street yesterday. I go, I got to follow him, and I couldn't catch the light. You were long gone. He drives like a fiend. And so I'm thinking, gosh, I couldn't get him. I don't have his phone number, and he's wandering around here. Come up here and sit with these guys. No. You sit right there. Here we go.
I got places to be.
Okay. Papers aside, things to do, right? Boards to shape. All right. So did I miss anybody else? Is there anybody else here? Oh, somebody's pointing to somebody. Did I miss you, Randy Wong? Randy Wong. He's a past inductee right there. They keep pointing over this way. Oh, I'll get him when he comes up. He's coming up. I'm not going to forget him. Don't worry about it. So did I get, oh, wait a minute. Dennis Choate, where'd you go? Dennis Choate, come here. Get up here. You're not hiding out back there. This guy right here, come on. Get over with the rest of the guys. This is all photography stuff. You know, stand over here next to
You want to arm
Steve
wrestle
Beatty.
for those? You want to arm wrestle for those shoes?
Dennis is a world-class surfboard builder, has been for a long time, and he builds a phenomenal boat. Is that right, Dennis? Say yes. He's a good friend. We go stand-up paddling all the time when we can both get the time at the same time. And it's just great to have him here with us. He belongs here. He's been here for a long, long time, and he's a wonderful guy. So if you get to meet Dennis, you're lucky. Okay, Dennis, you can go sit down now.
Go away.
Okay, and we have some other people here. We've got Ian Cairns. Kanga? He's going to be accepting for Bernard Midget Fairley. And it's going to be great. We'll have him up here in just a little bit. And then Greg Lohr is going to be accepting for Pat O'Hare. And then we've got, who we got over there?
Well, Pat O'Hare couldn't make it because he just had surgery, so
He had heart surgery.
He wanted to come in a worse way.
He did. And then back over there hiding on his glasses and that dark hat and a white shirt. Come on up here, Paul Stroud. We're going to hit the hide. Come on.
Mr. Paul Stroud.
This is the ambassador to surfing right here.
Right
This
here.
guy is he's got the great catching smile. He's a wonderful young man, and he was on the Duke Kahanamoko surf team, right? Yes, indeedy. So he's been around a long time. He's got that great smile, and he does have the aloha spirit. Wonderful to have you with us, and he's going to be accepting for Hayden Kenny today.
Aloha spirit, just don't snake him.
Now we'd like to recognize our hard-working government city officials that may be in attendance. I know Dana's not here, but I think Mike Posey, you still around? No, he's gone. Okay, great, but I need to come up. Eric Peterson's out. Pat Brendan. Did Patrick Brendan make it back? He was there earlier. Had to go run and do something? All right. Lynn Sametta, Jill Hardy, anybody show up? Okay, great. But we got Kelly Fritzl. Where are you, Kelly? Where? Oh, there she is. Hi, Kelly. It's good to have you supporting the event. And then we've got
Thank you.
And then we've got, I can't forget, Dave Garfalo. Where are you, David? Stand up. I know you are, but stand up again.
You stand on the chair.
And then we'd also like to recognize our own Diana Dean. Where are you, Diana? Come on up here, Diana.
Diana, can you?
Come on.
Can you?
You got new hips. You can make it. Come on.
Look at this. 2 weeks
Is,
out of double hip replacement.
Double hip replacement.
Only 2 weeks ago. This is unbelievable.
There we go.
Oh, look at that. Show off.
I told her that this was part of her therapy. She has to climb stairs, so we're going to bring her up about 10 times.
If you need one, get one.
Yeah, sick for a bit. Is Marianne Sensky around? She was sick for a while. I don't know if she's back. Or do we have any other representatives from the BID other than me? Who? Me. I'm the only one. Okay, well, welcome on behalf of the BID, the Business Improvement District.
But thank you, Diana, for allowing us to do this here. It means so much to bring it home. And from Doheny, where we were doing it, and without this lady here, it wouldn't be possible.
Okay, wait, stay up here. Stay. Okay, we'd also like to introduce our newly crowned Miss Huntington Beach, Alyssa Welfringer. Woo! All girls, I want all three of you up here. Come on, bring the princesses up too. Okay, and your name is?
Alyssa Welfringer.
And how, are you excited about being Miss Huntington Beach?
Oh, I'm so excited. This is our first event of the year.
And probably the best.
Probably the best. Stephanie.
Stephanie what?
Stephanie Miller.
Stephanie Miller, so?
I'm super excited, yes.
And I'm Mara James. I'm also excited. Love the Surf Museum. I was actually on the float a few years ago in the parade. I helped build it. So I'm so excited that this is our first event.
Thank you, girls. You're going to be helping us out in just a little bit. Okay, now we're going to introduce to you all of our inductees and present them with their leis, Hawaiian style, and introduce Tina Louise. Tina, where are you? Tina Toulouse, I'm sorry. And we have a special, you're going to walk up the red carpet, Tack. You're going to come up the middle, so don't get too far away. Okay, the first person I'm going to call up is kind of interesting. This is Lisa Peterson. Lisa. And Lisa will be inducting, she'll be accepting for her dad, Preston Pete Peterson. And her dad was a phenomenal waterman. He won almost every contest in the 30s and the 40s and the 50s here on the West Coast. And you'll learn more about him in just a little bit. And now we're going to have Pat O'Hare being represented by Greg Lure. Step off to one side of the other. Oh, yeah. Huh? No, we're going to do all of them at the same time.
I don't see Peterson.
Yeah, they got to walk up. Okay, you got to walk up the stage. You got to walk up the carpet. Come on, you just do it. Go ahead, take him back. Take him back and make him do it right. You get to walk with a pretty girl. You know, we got to teach. You got to train everybody else. Now, see that? See what you almost missed out on? Oh, you got your thing. Okay, great. Now we have Richard Wilkin. Where's Richard? Bring him up, girls. Wilkin Surfboards. Been around for a long, long time. And we got quite a story for him. And then we have Randy French. Randy learned. He wanted to walk up with that pretty girl. I get it. Yeah, he's no dummy. And we have Tak Kawahara. You having fun yet, Tak? No, okay. We'll see if we can work that out. Paul, get in line over here. Come on. Our next up is Hayden Kenny, and accepting for Hayden Kenny is Paul Stroud. This is a real surfing legend right here, let me tell you. And next we're going to have Bernard Midget Fairley, and accepting for Midget is Ian Cairns. And then last but not least, Robert, you're up.
In case you don't know, his last name is August.
Oh, I think it's two. Oh my God.
A twofer.
Oh my. Come on up here, Robert. Whoa. Let me get off to the side here a little bit. So, in a minute we'll have the inductions. So everybody can just kind of have a seat, but this is our inductees for this year. And well deserved, let me tell you. And we'll start introducing them real quick. So first off, we have Lisa Peterson. I'm not sure if that's your name now, but it's okay. It's always Lisa. Come on up here, Lisa. Now you're accepting your dad's jacket,
Yes.
but we also found his award, so you're also getting that.
Really?
Yes.
Oh, that's nice.
So who's got it? Girls, where are the girls? Come on, girls. I look around and wait a minute. Okay, you want to find Pete Peterson's here, want to hand it off to her, Rat?
Oh, that's beautiful.
And the funny thing is that I had thought we'd given that award to another family member. I had never met Lisa. I didn't even know she existed. So she contacts me on Facebook, I do believe, and goes, "How come you guys never inducted my dad?" So I go, "Well, who's your dad?" "Oh, it's Pete Peterson." I said, "Well, go look at the 2011 list and you'll find his name." She goes, "Oh, okay, great." So then we found the jacket, and I decided we'd called her to come up and accept the jacket, but then Rat reminded me that we had the award.
Yeah, you were frantic. He calls me up and goes, "That's for your dad."
How's that, huh?
Story about my dad. My dad was a real straight shooter guy. He, if he said something, that's the way it was going to be. And for instance, I left a bowl in the sink one evening, and he goes, "You make sure to clean that up before you go to bed." And I'm like, "Oh yeah, whatever." And so anyhow, he gets me up at 3 o'clock in the morning and goes, "Get up, go clean that bowl." Really? Yeah. So if he said something, that's just how it was going to be. And but he was really kind, and he was bright, and he was hysterically funny in just the quietest way. And I don't know, I miss him a lot. He was kind of larger than life for me. Oh boy, he started surfing in the early 30s, and he came here from Rockport, Texas. And his folks started the Santa Monica Bathhouse. He was 7 years old. Oh, one little known fact about my dad. His birth certificate says 1913. He was born in 1911. It was a screw up on the birth certificate. He didn't care, never changed it, but he was 2 years older than what everybody thinks he is. And let's see, he, like tandem surfing and just everything to do on the water. I don't really know what...
I got some stuff.
It's
I'll
kind
help
of a
you.
long list.
But Lisa surfed for 6 months before she was born.
Yeah.
How's that, huh? And then they got her surfing when she was 3 years old. So it was, she's a great surfer, she's a great gal, and we got to know each other a little bit on Facebook. But Pete, for first Duke Kahanamoku and then Tom Blake and then Preston Pete Peterson was the U.S. mainland's reigning contest champion of the 1930s, winning the Pacific Championships, the major surfing contests of the period, a number of times. No other surfer came close to his dominance of the contest. He was the waterman of the era, competing well into the 60s. It says in here that more than a contest surfer, however, Pete Peterson was a waterman in the truest sense of the word. The first person to paddle a Catalina from the mainland. He became a Hollywood stuntman and innovator of ocean vehicles and lifeguard rescue equipment. How's that, Steve Reuter? And some of his life-saving creations included paddle boards, soft rescue tubes, all fiberglass hollow boards, and foam plywood balsa sandwich surfboards. So Pete Peterson, and I'd heard that name all of my career, but I never had an opportunity to meet him, and now I got to meet his daughter, which is great. Thank you very much. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. I kind of thought I was done with Greg Lohr last year, but come on up here because we're inducting Pat O'Hare next. And Pat O'Hare would have loved to have been with us. I talked to him a few weeks ago, and he told me that he couldn't make it up. He was having heart surgery on Monday, and I was talking to him on Saturday. So I said, well, just postpone the surgery and come on out. We both laughed, and he went on with the surgery. So I've kept in touch with the family. I call him to find out how he's doing. I guess he's finally starting to respond and come back a little bit. So anyway, Greg Lohr, you know him. You talk about him.
So when I was in junior high, I started surfing in 7th grade, and these two guys came out from California to make surfboards, and one of them was Pat O'Hare, and they had the hot shop in town, and sold a lot of boards. But years later, I was surfing, and I was invited by Claude Codgen to be on the Sunshine Surf team. And Sunshine was in the same factory with Pat O'Hare, and together, and actually Pat shaped all the boards for both companies. And I knew Pat O'Hare was there, and that was the moment that I was sold, and rode for Claudia for a while, and just absolutely loved the boards, and through the years he's been an icon on the East Coast, and he never went back to the West. He fell in love with Florida and stayed and raised his family. His kids are surfers. Sean is a great surfer, and anyway, here's another old friend of Pat's, Jim the Genius.
Well, late in 1966, just before the first of the year, I decided I'd go to Florida for the winter and wound up living right next door to Pat's factory. I went and asked him for a job, and he flatly told me no. But every hot kid in Cocoa Beach, the McRoberts brothers, you would find them on an O'Hare surfboard. And I would eventually be in the Sunshine factory in the same complex with Pat, and we shared employees for a number of years, and Pat was a fixture in Cocoa Beach, one hell of a guy.
Well, thank you, Jimmy.
And we want that back. You don't get to keep it. We'll get it to him. Okay.
Open that book yet.
No. I knew what you were thinking. And that's not epoxy on there either. Well, Pat O'Hare made it to the Olympic trials in wrestling after getting kicked off his junior college team because, as his coach said, he was a surfer, a drinker, and a bum. Does that sound like him? This while Pat was also running track. Hank Sellers was the coach, and he hated surfers. Dewey Weber was on the team also. He wrestled against Dewey Weber, if you can believe that. Huh? He started out as a sander in Surfside, California with Rick James. They both worked for Rick Geach. I've never heard that name before, but who taught Pat the trade. Later he moved on to Dewey Weber surfboards. Pat started riding for Greg Knoll, had the Mickey Dora and Rolf Arness models, and he made a Pat O'Hare model. Greg said he didn't sell many of Pat's models, so Pat began shaping his own in '58 and got really serious about it in '63. He's a real nice guy. I've only met him on the phone. I was hoping to meet him here, but I'll meet him on a trip to Florida, I'm sure, sometime in the future.
We've got one more thing to do
Oh,
right here.
go ahead. Oh, yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, put it on his head. And you don't get to keep that either. Sorry. You're just a model. So, anyway, thanks, Greg. Appreciate it. Thanks you, and thanks for coming out. We really appreciate having here. And I know these folks really like you.
I'm honored to be here for Pat.
Okay, thank you. And I'll let the family know. Hopefully we'll get some pictures to send to the family. Okay, we've got Richard Wilkin. Where are you, Richard? Okay, come on up here. Now I have a little bio on Richard. I just got to dig it out.
Hi, guys. I'm filling time. I won't talk as long as the guy was up here for a half hour, but here, Bob.
Now, I know it's going to be hard to believe, just looking at the two of us, right? He was born 3 years after me.
You're looking good. Maybe you should grow more of a beard.
He was born in '46. He grew up in Pacific Palisades. He came in contact with surfing while in junior high school by reading early issues of, no, not Playboy magazine, Surfer magazine. In '57, he started surfing on a hollow finless plywood paddleboard his brother had made in wood shop. Where's his brother? Ah, you made that board, huh? Okay. Later, his brother brought home an old beat-up fiberglass and balsa board, which provided a much better ride, and Rich got plenty of practice patching dings in order to keep that old relic afloat. In '61, he bought his first surfboard, and Rich describes it as an ugly brown, yellow, very well-used 9.6 Dave Sweet. This board gave him even more practice on repairing dings. He said it was ugly, but it was his. His second board was a 910 Con. He didn't just repair this one, he restored it with new colors, pin lines, and a gloss coat. In '63, Rich began repairing and reglossing surfboards as a serious endeavor after his father passed away in order to earn his own spending money. He opened Wilkin Pigment out of his mom's garage. Does that sound familiar to anybody up here on this stage? It sounds familiar to me. I was in my dad's garage. Besides local high school friends, he did all the ding work for the local hobby shop. In '64, while starting architectural drafting, he had Terry Martin, one of our inductees, shape him a custom 9.8 beach break board, but Rich put the finishing touches with the gloss and pigment. Before that board even got wet, before he got it to the water, Dewey Weber saw it and offered Rich a job in the Weber factory to do all the fancy color work on those surfboards. At the Weber shop, Rich had the opportunity to observe the shaping techniques of master shaper and ISBHOF inductee Harold Iggy. You notice I got it spelled right.
That's right.
Oh, yeah, that's right. It was then he got the shaping bug. At the Weber shop, Rich had the opportunity to observe the shaping techniques of, I did that, and he got, in the summer of '65, Rich shaped his first board under the watchful eye of Iggy. Rich also picked up laminating techniques by watching Dewey's top laminator, Mike Bright. In the summer of '66, while attending classes in architecture, he built the first Wilkin labeled surfboard and opened his first shop factory in Santa Monica.
It was 4 full pages.
A very fine 8-point type, let me tell you.
We would have had to pass out blankets and pillows.
Ask for information.
I did, and boy did we get it. He was still doing work for Weber until Dewey found out that Rich was building his own boards just down the road. That was the end of the Wilkin-Weber relationship, I'm afraid. I'm thinking, right? Over the years, Rich, in one way or another, helped the likes of Robbie Dick, John Wheelwright, Glenn Kennedy, Tim Ferriss, and Pat Rawson develop their shaping skills. In the early '70s, Rich had the opportunity to get back into architecture and turn the majority of his business over to his brother George. Where's George go? George, come on up here, George.
Come on.
We got the brother connection here. Come on up here and stand next to your brother. No, you don't get any girls, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Happens all the time. Well, we don't want to get spoiled, you know. And aren't you thankful that your brother gave you that business, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah. Yeah, he did, didn't he? Okay. He is now a licensed architect that will occasionally make a custom Wilkins surfboard for a friend. And Mike and I would like to take this opportunity to officially welcome Rich Wilkin into the International Surfboard Builder Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Rich.
He doesn't get a kiss either? He gets a kiss, come on. Come on, he is a kiss.
I'd rather have a hug.
And Tina is just wonderful at making these lays. She just does a great job. She's really into it, so we really appreciate having her. Rich, you want to say anything?
I think you mentioned most of the people that did help me along the way, but definitely I want to mention my big brother John. I think you already did he was really the first guy who brought a surfboard home. I don't know how much he ever surfed, but I would just thanks a lot, John, for that old scratchy board. And George, I always got all the credit. He did all the work, so you know, it continues. So
You were the smart one, right?
well, I don't know about that. He was an engineering background. He did production work and everything. He was in the military on the East Coast. He actually set up the East Coast dealers even when he was in basic training in the Army. And while I'm mentioning that, I want to thank my brother, who is a lifelong 30 years in the Navy, and also Mickey and all your veterans, and George, who served.
Thank you.
Let's hear it for all our veterans. God bless you all. I went to sign up for the Air Force with some friends who lost their student deferment, and after the health history, they told me to go home. So, you know, I really feel bad about it, but thank you guys who did serve. And I want to thank my family, and especially Harold Iggy, who is not here any longer, and all my friends who showed up today, and family members, thank you very much. And also, Bob, thank you, and Mickey for this great honor and all the work you do. And all the gentlemen over here and preceded me that I've learned from. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Uh-oh, we've got a Chuck Lennon on our hands. One more.
I want to thank Robert August for being inducted the same year as me, so it's a nice big crowd. So thank you, Robert.
Ooh, it looks like it fits. Oh my gosh, it does. You're welcome. Okay, next we have Randy French. Come on up here, Randy. Give me a bump, brother. Give me a bump. There you go. Randy, you grew up in the Santa Cruz area, right?
Yes, I did.
It's really hard to get information out on Randy. Kept telling me, I don't like to talk about me. I don't like to talk about me. Here's some things, you know. So he grew up in the Santa Cruz area. He started shaping in '68, has continued to shape and design surfboards and many other watercraft ever since. He obtained a patent for new construction system, and he started C-Trend in 1974 and built the largest state-of-the-art glassing factory in Santa Cruz, correct? Okay, I'm going to get more out of you. You're going to have to answer some questions pretty soon, though. Randy's surfboards have won at Pipe, Sunset, Puerto, and other spots around the world. In 1989, Randy founded SurfTech with the goal of creating a stronger, lighter construction system. Personally, I thought SurfTech was a great company and built a great product. So Randy, when did you start surfing?
I started in 1962.
1962, okay. And who got you interested in shaping?
You know, it was the beginning, probably 68. 1968, the shortboard revolution began. So that's when I really got excited about trying to see what could be done with shorter, higher performance boards.
And who taught you how to shape?
You know, I was self-taught, but we had Doug Hout, the Hout brothers, and Johnny Rice, Jim Foley, which is on the list,
Yep.
and has gone on to
Johnny Rice also.
And Johnny Rice.
Doug Hout too, yeah.
And
All
Hout.
these guys, yeah.
So all those guys were involved.
So you're self-taught. Well, we have a lot in common. I never watched a surfboard get shaped in my entire life before I started. Okay, what type of products did C-Trend produce? What was that?
Well, we were a custom surfboard maker and made conventional boards and had the contract to build all the boards under the O'Neill label. And they had 5 shops at the time. And so it was really kind of the O'Neill family that sucked me into the business.
Good. And I heard that SurfTech was a kind of an offshoot of the windsuffering technology.
Well, you know, as surfboards got into 4-ounce glass, they fell apart.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I really wanted to try to make a board that had more durability. So we started using epoxy. That's the reason I worked with Greg Lohr quite a bit on different epoxies.
Yeah.
And went from there.
You did a great job of making them a whole lot stronger. And I thought it was brilliant to approach the likes of Yater and Velzy and the many other board builders you branded under the SurfTech label, including another one of today's inductees, Robert August. You know, it gave SurfTech instant name recognition, and what it really made your company was when it took on the Greek label. I thought you really took off then. The other thing you did for many of those guys was to revitalize their names and make them available to more surfers around the world. You know, I don't think that Rennie would have shaped a ton of boards like you were able to produce, and I don't know if Robert could have shaped as many boards as were produced out of that organization, and who knows, that's a lot of work with a planer, man. So, do you have any plans for the future you want to talk about?
I'm just enjoying life.
Okay.
And surfing a little bit, and shaping a few boards.
Well, Randy, it's a pleasure to induct you into the International Surfboard Builder Hall of Fame, and here's your award. And we have another.
Tina.
Congratulations, Randy. Good to have you. Tak Kawahara. Come on up, Tak. It's good to have you.
Good to see you.
Well, Tak, I met Tak at the CHP Surf Shop, I think. You were carrying some turbo tunnel fins. I delivered some up one day, and we got to meet and talk. And prior to that, we might have met a couple of times. But this guy's an amazing guy. He's a great history, and that I didn't know about until I studied up and read on him, which is like a lot of the guys. He started surfing.
You can make it short.
Oh, it is. It's real short. Only 5 pages.
Did you call him short?
No. Come on. Tak started surfing in the late 50s and quickly decided that surfing was going to be his lifestyle. He began repairing boards at Con Surfboards. Over the next few years, he learned all of the stages of surfboard manufacturing from Con Colburn, Tom Flaherty, Dewey Weber. Is Tom Flaherty still around?
No, he passed away.
He did, okay. All right. Dewey Weber, Greg Knoll, Hap Jacobs, and Tom Morey. Is Tommy still around? Oh, he got in the shade, okay. And Tom Morey. He can't. During the 60s, Tak traveled to Japan in search of new beaches, waves, and business opportunities. He found good waves and a company willing to invest in a surfboard factory. He started a factory and began manufacturing his own surfboards under the Malibu label. By the late 70s, surfing was the #1 sport in Japan, along with baseball and soccer. The demand for surfboards in Japan skyrocketed, due in part, I'm sure, to Tak. During the 70s, Tak established the wholesale arm of Town & Country Surfboards, apparel and accessories. Did I get that right? Yeah. Yes, okay, good. Which went on to become one of the major labels for beach activewear industry. In the 90s, he founded and operated a retail store in Redondo Beach known as CHP Surf. Surfing has given Tak the opportunity to travel to places like Hong Kong, China, Japan, and Europe. He is fluent in Japanese. Gambatemasu.
That's terrible.
I know. But I tried. And he's currently trying to pick up Mandarin. He is married with 4 children. His hobbies are designing surfboards and stand-up paddleboards. Tak, it's my pleasure to acknowledge all that you have done for the sport of surfing and welcome you into the International Surfboard Builder Hall of Fame with this Lifetime Achievement Award, along with your jacket and t-shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, Tak Kawahara. Congratulations, Tack. You want to say a few words?
Just a few. Bob, thank you and your group for putting on this great event. It's an honor. And yeah, and Mickey, and Diane over there from the museum. Thank you very much for everything. And congratulations to all the inductees. And I appreciate my whole family showing up today.
That's awesome.
And my beautiful daughter who flew all the way from Florida. Thank you. And my brother Yosh and his family all the way from San Diego that came down as well. What else? Yeah, I just, it's a big honor. Thank you so much, Bob. I want to give a shout out to, I think one of the best craftsmen that I've ever ran up against, Carl Ekstrom.
Yeah, way to go.
There are good craftsmen, there's great craftsmen, and then there's Carl right up at the top.
There's one last thing.
Thanks again.
Thank you, Tack. Now, just so you guys know back here, when we get all done, don't leave. We're going to clean this. We're going to take the chairs off, and we're going to stand around and get a group shot here. And then we're going to bring all the other inductees that are here that have been previous inductees to get a bigger group shot. So we want, now that we've got our great backdrop, it works out well.
Another famous one I see in the crowd, Chucky Lennon. Hey, Chuck. Hey, Chuck. Come on, let's see an arm up here. Love you, buddy.
But there's one thing that we learned. Isn't that right, Chuck? Isn't that right, Rat?
Don't let Chuck have the mic.
Never. Next up, we have Hayden Kenny. Paul Strow, you're up. Now, Paul is a famous international surfer, this guy right here. He surfed on the Duke Kahanamoku surf team. He's known as Mr. Aloha. He's got a great smile. And he's just a wonderful guy. He really is nice. And we got him to accept for Hayden Kenny. Hayden was born in Granville, Queensland, Australia in 1936. From the very early on, Hayden had a great affinity for the ocean. On New Year's Eve in 1956, he received his bronze medallion from the Royal Life-Saving Society Australia at Alexandra Headland that marked the beginning of a remarkable career in surfing and the life-saving movement. Hayden's very first surfboard was built by another ISBHOF inductee, Gordon Woods. Hayden built his first surfboard in his parents' garage in 1957. By the early 60s, his prowess as a surfer and shaper became so widespread, he was prompted to move to Alexandra Headland, where he opened up Hayden Surfboards. During those early days, he and the legendary Algie Grood built up the Hayden name. Soon he had some of the world's most hardcore surfers working for him. Bob Cooper, another great surfer guy, builder. From Yater Surfboards was the first international builder, which then attracted Rennie Yater to sample the waters of Australia, who stayed to shape a few boards, as well as George Greeno, who brought a balsa knee board he had built at Ike Surfboards in Santa Barbara. As Noosa became better known, Hayden would employ Bob McTavish, Ken Adler, Russell Hughes, Kevin Platt, and a host of other notables from that era. As the Sunshine Coast became more popular and matured, Hayden Surfboards grew and spawned Hayden Surfcraft, specializing in designing lighter and faster high-tech racing and rescue paddleboards, which would become a world leader in that industry. Then, when most men would consider retiring, Hayden founded the Helicopter Rescue Service and flew as a crewman for many years. It has been said that simply knowing him made you taller. One only need glance at some of the names who began their illustrious careers with Hayden Kenny to understand the enduring love and respect of his fellow surfers and board builders in regards to a highly respected, long and stellar career. Ladies and gentlemen, Mike and I are very pleased to have the pleasure of inducting Hayden Kenny, Australia's first Ironman and one of Australia's premier board builders, into the International Surfboard Builders Hall of Fame. Now, Ian, did you want to say something about Hayden? Did you know him very well? Or? Didn't know him. Okay, great. P. Hart. Did you know Hayden Kenny?
Where's P. Hart? Phil.
Oh, there. Did you want to come up and say something about Hayden Kenny? Okay, great. All right. So, in any event, Thank you for standing in for Hayden Kenny. He was a great board builder from all I've read and been talking to Mike Davis and the guys from down there. Great, great guy. Now, the interesting thing, Hayden Kenny, I had never met him. I'd never seen a picture of him. So when I looked up Hayden Kenny, I saw this guy and he was polishing a board. I went, okay, great, that's a great picture, we'll use it. Well, that poster got put out around everywhere. And all of a sudden on Facebook, I started getting these things from Australia that said,
That's not Hayden Kenny.
hey, Bob, that's not Hayden Kenny. You're disrespecting him and you spelled Midget Fairley's name wrong. I went, oh my God. I was on the phone at 11:30 at night talking to Australia, trying to figure out what the heck I was doing wrong, and finally figured it out, that the picture was Mick Hopper, who bought Hayden Kenny surfboards, and I couldn't find a picture of Hayden Kenny. So they started sending them to me. I got all kinds of pictures of Hayden. We've corrected the poster, and everybody in Australia was excited and happy. We even correctly spelled Fairley's name wrong. That was just a typo. So anyway, you're part of a great story there.
Well, it's a real honor to be standing here and accepting on behalf of Hayden. I did not know him either, but I'd like to say something about the Australian surfboard maker's legacy, though, especially, you know, sitting next to Ian here. I've had the pleasure of being in the company of many Australian shapers and surfers, especially in Hawaii, because they'd all come over to Hawaii eventually. And they really, I love their tenacity and their aggressiveness, because they taught us Hawaiians not to take things so lightly. No, I mean this in a good way. I mean, if you want to catch waves, you got to smile back at them as well. So, no, but I just wanted to say something about what you and Mike have started here. Mickey has started here with Surfboard Builders Hall of Fame. I just had the real distinct pleasure and luxury of growing up with a dad that surfed and got me surfing at a very young age. And when I was 10, he was a close friend of Tom Blake's, and so he commissioned Tom to build 2 surfboards in our rear garage, one for my dad, a 10.6 balsa board, and an 8.6 balsa board for me. And so I had the opportunity to go with my dad and Tom down to McWayne Marine Supply to sift through all of the balsa. McWayne Marine Supply was the only importer of balsa wood from South America. And we had a chance I had a chance to watch the whole process of finding the right wood. We were looking for very light wood and wood that wasn't tilted or canted or warped. And then the whole process of trimming the board, each plank off, and then adding it to the deck up on the nose to create a bow lift. And then I had a chance, just watching Tom, he finally invited me. He said, "You're sitting on the back steps watching me. Why don't you come out here and sit over here next to me?" And so I had a chance to talk with Tom and learn about hydrodynamics from him. He shaped me a twin, actually a swallowtail 8.6 board. And so he made a square tail for my dad. And I said, "Well, why are the tails different from one another?" And he said, "Well, your father can handle that. He's much bigger than you, obviously, and he needs weight to turn that board, but I wanted it to float for him." And I said, "Well, why did you put this funny-looking tail on mine?" He says, "Well, let me teach you something. The pintail is the fastest turning board, but you need something to push you on. And the reason it's fast is because all you have to do is lean on one side, and it's going to roll in that direction, but you have to balance it out, and you need a lot of push." So I learned so much about him, through him, about surfboard dynamics and hydrodynamics. And it was a distinct, that understanding gave me more insight to work with some of the greatest craftsmen in the world over the course of my surfing history. So all of the people being honored here really deserve a lot of credit to putting smiles on all of our faces. Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Thank you for coming, and appreciate all you've done for the sport of surfing. And here's the award. I'm gonna hang on to that. And here's the and remember, you don't get to keep that stuff. Okay. There's that smile. Okay, next up we have Midget Fairley. And executive for Midget is Ian Cairns. Now Ian, I'm not going to say too much about Midget because you know him a whole lot better than I did, and I would have to read it, so I'm going to let you talk. But I'm going to say a couple things about you. Nobody can claim to have been more involved with professional surfing since its inception than this guy right here. Riding Surfboard, shaped by Midget Fairley, Ian captured the '66 West Australian title, the first of at least 6 such awards, despite a rebellious, can you figure that out, this guy right here, a rebellious attitude. He finished high school in '69, began shaping surfboards. He would make around 1,000 in all during the early '70s. His higher education consisted of a surfing apprenticeship. Influenced by Nat Young's powerful, committed approach, Ian earned a spot on the Australian surf team for the '70 and '72 World Contest. Following the second event, he made his initial trip to Waddell's North Shore, which would prove the ultimate playground for this overgrown kid. At 6'2", 190 pounds, Ian needed a wave of equal standing in order to reach his potential. In Hawaii, he quickly established himself as a force in larger surf by taking out the 1973 Smirnoff over Jeff Hackman at 10-foot Laniakea. Me and Hackman were the only ones sitting out the back, and that's when I realized I can win. Right, Paul? He recalls, suddenly I discovered the secret of competition. I knew then that going into Hawaii each year I would win or place highly. There was no question. He went on to take the Duke Manamoku Classic and twice won the World Cup, the second time 1980, as the oldest competitor in the event at 28. At 12-foot Haleiwa, age was inconsequential. Power was everything. Well, we're glad you're here, Ian. You've got your mark on the sport of surfing, and Midget has his on the sport of surfing and board building. So I'm going to let you talk about.
When did Midget pass away?
Midget passed away about 6 months ago. Had cancer. Very, very sad event. And Midget Fairley came to Western Australia when I was just a kid. I was about 15, and they brought him over to Western Australia to demonstrate high-level, world-class surfing to us out there in the boondocks in Western Australia. And, we hit it off immediately. Midget was, I was a kid of 12 living in Sydney when he won his '64 world title at Manly Beach. I lived at Avalon. And just after that, I moved to Western Australia. We got in the Falcon and drove the 2,500, 3,000 miles across the desert to Perth in Western Australia, and that's where my whole surfing career came. And when Midget Fairley turned up, I remember that photograph that's actually on the poster in the newspaper. And, I was absolutely stoked. And, we'd just gone through the shortboard revolution. I went from 9'6" to 8 foot in one jump. And Midget made my next board. He put me on the Midget Fairley surf team, made me a 7'6" pintail, which was a radical design at that time. And whilst I was surfing for him, I went through the pintail era and then the side slipper era, which we watched everything happen in magazines. And I remember Rena Abalira and Jerry Lopez on their side slippers here at Huntington Pier in the US Championships. And I just had a photograph sent to me on Facebook of me on a side slipper out at Guillotines, one of my reef breaks in Western Australia. Everything in terms of surfboard design was telegraphed through photographs or letters. There was no internet, there was no nothing. I surfed in 2 Australian teams. One, my first time when I was 18 years old, I was selected for the Australian team at Bells Beach. And I was in a surf contest at Little Rincon on a big day. Waves, it was windy, it was powerful. There were two Australians, Keith Paul and myself, were in that contest. I was surfing a Midget Fairley surfboard, very, very low rail fast board. And I happened to have in my heat a Hawaiian surfer. And I always revered Hawaii because of Duke Hanamoku bringing surfing to Australia. I won the Duke Hanamoku trophy as the up-and-coming junior in the 1968 Australian Championship. So meeting Hawaiians and actually being in a heat with a Hawaiian was a super big thrill. And it was this guy right here. An 8-foot Little Rincon, and I learnt so much from Paul Stroud on that heat. He beat me because I was riding small waves, and he went out the back and caught the bombs. And that was a massive lesson that when I was in the 1973 Smirnoff at Laniakea, riding a surfboard that I shaped, a bonza, 7'6" bonza and 10 to 12 foot waves. Both Jeff Hackman and I were the only surfers in the final to paddle all the way out the back and go the bombs. And this amazing wave would come. If you've ever seen Laniakea, it's one of the most spectacular right-handers. This wave would come. I was so stoked that I was broke. I had $150 to spend the whole winter. The entry fee was $100. So I gambled my entire winter on entering a heat, and Ivo Hansa from Peru didn't show up, and I got in the contest, and I ended up winning that contest. I went from being a nobody to the pro world champion at that time in one day, and it was all about using that lesson that I learned off Paul Strow. Paddle out the back, get the bombs, surf good, and repeat. And literally my entire career of coaching is as simple as that. I teach people about wave skills and about not falling off. And so it's going through that board. I've worked in Midget's Farrelly's factory in Brookvale in Sydney, fixing dings. Midget taught me to shape. And Midget was the most meticulous craftsman I've ever met in the entire surfing world. His boards were flawless. They were absolutely perfect. Every stage, if you shaped a blank, there could not be a single scratch on that blank. It had to be rubbed out and made perfect. And every step, the glass job was perfect, the color jobs was perfect, the pin lines were perfect, the gloss coats were perfect. If it wasn't perfect, Midget rejected that board and went back in and got resanded, and everyone started again. And whoever messed it up had to pay for the whole thing. So he ran a regimen of really, really tight craftsman production, and he made the most beautiful surfboards I've ever seen. Midget, of course, was the world champion. He was a Makaha champion in 1963. He was the world champion at Manly in 1964. He tied for first in 2 world championships. In Puerto Rico, he lost to Fred Hemmings on a countback. In 1970 at Bells Beach, they moved to Joanna, and he lost to Rolf Arness in a countback. So Midget Farrelly literally should have had 4 world championships. He was that greatest surfer. He's the person that put surfing on the map in Australia, and he motivated thousands and thousands of young kids like myself to go out there into the world. He's the guy that internationalized surfing for Australians, and then he went on to surf blanks and made super quality surfboard blanks, and he was an amazing waterman. He took up windsurfing, everything in the water Midget could do to perfection because he was that kind of guy. So one thing, he drove me home to Avalon one time from the factory, and he had a GT Falcon, and that was like the big deal. And that guy drove fast, and he taught me the love of driving fast too. So Australians like to do things a little bit over the top, but we kind of have, I have taken my vision of what surfing could be, standing on the shoulders of great Australian surfboard builders and great Australian surfers like Midget Farrelly. So for me to be here and accepting this award for Midget is a big deal. So thank you very much to you guys for putting this on.
Thank you, Ian. Hey, Ian, one last question. Ian, was PT in this mix, or was he later?
PT came along. I first met PT when I was surfing in the Australian Championships in Coolangatta, and he was a couple of years younger than me, and we teamed up as buddies and went on and our life of crime and surfing, and the idea of busting down the door is very, very true. It's really hard to make something happen, and we believed that we had to be great surfers, so we pushed each other very, very hard. But in terms to break out of the established perspective of what surfing was, my dad was an engineer. He worked hard. I didn't go to university, and everyone thought that surfers were dole bludgers and drug addicts, and we had to stand up and say, hey, no, we're professional athletes. and we lived clean lifestyles, and we became champion sports. And you can see the level of surfing in Australia has elevated dramatically from when I was a kid, and that was largely because of the work that me and my peers did in the early 70s to stand on the shoulders of Nat Young and Midget Farrelly and go ahead and sort of change the world. And it's been a real pleasure to have had that opportunity to go out and do that sort of thing. I watched a couple of waves at Portugal while we were standing over here under the CTs going on there at closeout waves. It's a lifetime passion. And, I look around this whole group here, and surfing is a long-time passion for all of us. And it's for me, it's the hub of my wheel. My wife, Alyssa, over there is a champion surfer. We think about surfing first thing in the morning. And, it's a really fantastic thing. And I really want to thank America for sort of embracing me and giving me an opportunity to live here and earn a living. And, surfing is an international sport, and, I've been very blessed to have had a hand and a part in many, many aspects of surfing. So thanks for having me here.
Unfortunately, PT is not here today. He is in Japan? China, because he is the coach of the China team.
Surf team, yeah. So, come on. Jacket. Well, I don't know if that jacket will fit. It might be, you might have to just hold the jacket, but. Well, next we got a guy coming up here that, some of you may know, I don't know. Robert August. Oops. Move over just a little, get in the middle of that thing so we get better shots. Okay, well, Robert is, what can I say about Robert? Robert, I've known Robert for years and years and years. I remember him when he opened a shop here on Main Street, first block in that old brick building that eventually got burned to the ground, I think, didn't that thing? Yeah, it did. Yeah, no, it was over here. Yeah, and so anyway, Robert was born in Hermosa Beach in 1945. He's younger than me. Exactly. He grew up in Seal Beach. His father, Blackie August, was a well-known surfer and lifeguard in Redondo Beach. Blackie had Robert surfing in Seal Beach at the ripe old age of 6. With his smooth, goofy foot style of surfing, Robert became a successful contest surfer at a very young age. In 1963 West Coast Surfing Championships, he finished 4th in the men's division and 3rd in the 64 U.S. Invitational. In 65, he placed 3rd in the U.S. Surfing Championships, after which he was invited to the Duke Kahanamoku Invitational. A few months after graduating from Huntington Beach High School, he was the class president. I heard stories about that, no?
Student body president.
Student body president, I'm sorry, yeah, class president, student body president. Thank you very much. Oh, here we go. Hit me now, it's okay. So, Robert, along with Mike Henson, was given the opportunity to travel the world searching for the perfect wave with Bruce Brown while making the famed movie, The Endless Summer. Filmed in 1963 and debuting in 64, The Endless Summer played throughout America. In 66, it was named one of the top 10 best movies of the year and gave Robert the recognition that would serve him well in his future business ventures. In 65, Robert worked for Jacob Surfboards, first as a salesman, then as a shaper. In 66, Robert became a freelance shaper. He shaped for Overland, Petrillo, Plastic Fantastic, South Shore, Harbor, Chuck Denton, and anyone else who might need him. In 71, he made a great move and opened up the Endless Summer Restaurant. I remember that. I know right where it was, right over here on Beach Boulevard. I went, why did he do that? So he opened the Endless Summer Restaurant, which he later described as the business that set the world record for losing money. Is that a quote?
No, I didn't say it, but it's true.
Did anybody eat there?
They got the bio wrong. In 74, he opened up Robert August Surfboards in Fullerton, but relocated to the first block of Main Street. In spite of the shortboard revolution that began in the late 60s, Robert was a longboarder at heart and welcomed the longboard resurgence of the 80s. By the year 2000, his Huntington Beach factory was producing a record number of boards. Since starring the epic Endless Summer movie in 1963, Robert has built a brand that is recognized worldwide. He estimates that he had shaped well over how many boards?
41,000.
And still shaping.
The Robert Aga Surfboard Company continues to produce custom hand-shaped surfboards right here in the U.S. and is still one of the most popular surfboard brands on the market today. At 72, Robert is still an excellent shaper with a good sense of humor. Robert now lives in Costa Rica where he still shapes and enjoys living the good life. Robert, it is our great pleasure to welcome you into the International Surfboard Builder Hall of Fame to honor your lifetime of work in the surfing industry. Congratulations, my friend.
That's Robert.
That's Robert. And fun for me, his son Sam, I got to coach him in a few sports when he grew up with my oldest son Bobby. They were good friends, and it was fun coaching his son in flag football. So we have a great relationship going back a long way. Robert, congratulations. And welcome into this. It's been a long time. I could never figure out when nobody got you, but for sure somebody got you.
Well, the reason why it meant to be this year is because of the anniversary of Endless Summer, so it worked out perfect.
Ladies and gentlemen, could we have a big round of applause for our 2017 inductees?
Can we get you guys to hold the awards up, please?
I'm a double. This is my twin. We don't talk much.
The man in the poster and the man that made the poster.
Me and Mick, you're photobombing in the background.
Glad to have been nominated by an old friend from Australia, Bob McTavish. I've been semi-erect. No, I've been fine.